In the early stages of the game, you might not realise how useful the planks can be. I thought they were kind of a waste, but they're really, really useful. So the tool can be upgraded with money. You can increase the number you've got, which is really important, and the width and the length. I would say that the length is the most important, as well as the amount, first of all. Now, to draw them out, you just hold down the mouse button and walk away, look away, and it will stretch out to its maximum length. Whatever surface it touches, it connects to. If you connect it to the, like this pillar, for example, that I've got, or a wall, they'll be able to pivot around it. It won't cause any like major issues. They can get a bit funky when they start clipping through when you connect both edges, though. Now, there are ways of making them reach across to other sides to make bridges like this. These, whichever edge touches, so the first edge was connected and the second edge, it will hold it in place. If you find that it doesn't reach, there's a number of ways you can do it. It depends how fiddly you want to be with it. I tend to bridge smaller gaps like this by just creating two triangles, one on top of another, and then you can of course work your way up and build additional structures. Now if it's a lot further away, you've got a range of other options, and you can do this the same way that I just did the other one. So drawing them across, and then of course you can connect. What I've done there is connect them in the middle because it kind of glues them together. You can then start somewhere around the middle and you can draw those out. Now I've wasted a plank there drawing, but you can press the escape key while you're kind of creating them, and you've got the outline and it will cancel it. So that's what I would usually do to bridge a gap, kind of a dirty, horrible little collection of triangles really. You can also be a bit better with it. You can draw them up from the ground. If you touch the plank while it's in this position, it will then start like flopping on the ground and things, so you have to be careful before you've connected them up first that you don't knock them, but it is possible to draw them vertically up. And now we've already made like a walkway. You can further stabilize it with that. Don't worry about over stabilizing the planks because they are pretty tough. They don't obey physics in the way that you would expect them to, so they can flop and pop around a little bit if they're not secured in, but just bear in mind that once you put them in place, they are pretty tough, so you don't need to go overboard and reinforce it like massively. The physics system doesn't work like to the extent that planks can crumble and bend. If you're trying to build something up a ledge that's really high like this that you couldn't normally reach, climb to the top and then you can just connect the edge and jump down, and that gives you a bit of a platform here where you can now start to build your ledge up like this. That's quite useful on the fine arts mission when you have to put some quite high walkways. With the slopes you'll get a feel for what's too steep. If you start walking up it, it'll slow you down a little bit. This is a plank that's too steep, so what you'd want to do is to now connect another edge in to make sure you're going as fast as possible, but it is walkable. Okay, so that's how to get up really high ledges. Another cool trick with these is to connect one edge and then jump to where you want to go, holding down the mouse key. Even if you face the other way, as long as you've got the key down, the drawn out outline will still remain there, and you can turn around and place it in the position that you want it to be. So that's quite useful for connecting gaps. Instead of having to kind of build a support structure underneath to do that, you can just jump straight across. I was considering taking this car out to show you connections, but there's some other vehicles out here that we can look at. So the planks, as well as a building tool, one of the most useful features for it as well, it can make some that seemed impossible, missions impossible, really trivial, or at least a bit easier, is they can be used as connections to like glue things together. So you can think of them as ropes. So I'm going to use a small object here just to prove a point. I'm just going to show you the kind of the elastic bit. So if you do accidentally connect them to an object, or you do want to do this deliberately, they kind of behave a little bit elastic, but it will hold you in place. You can use that to support structures and to keep vehicles and things in place. So you can move objects by attaching them to the back of vehicles. They're very easy to smash and snap off, so you might want to connect multiple planks from the objects just to make sure they're safe. You can also use it to lift things without a crane, or to connect two together. And you can see here how it's like falling and kind of sort of jerking out a little bit. That's because it can't, as I say, it kind of acts like it's elastic. And then you can use it to support things to the crane, even though of course the crane can do this itself. Attaching additional planks to vehicles and things means you can pick them up without them flipping upside down and so on. One of the last bits that I'll show you is how to stop moving objects with the planks. We can get up here to the top of this windmill just by building some support structures up, and then connect a plank to it. Can prevent the windmill from moving. Now that's not too useful at this point yet. Maybe there'll be more missions that involve that in part 2. But you can use it just to hold vehicles and hold objects in place so that when you want them to drop or move, like for example an alarm box or a safe, you can then shoot the plank and release it. So in a couple of places that's useful. Okay, so those are the majority of the main tips that I've got for planks. Have you got anything else that you've used or any other creative ideas? Because this is kind of one of those games where there tends to be a lot of stuff that you might not even think about until a certain point. Then you can drop those in the comments, and if we need to do a part 2 for this video, then we can do. So I hope that was useful. I hope that if you're only a short way through the game, that you'll find it useful to start using planks earlier, because I know it definitely limited some of my solutions earlier on, especially with not realising you could use it to tow and so on.